We've just been looking at favourites, a consolidation process, and that's what we're going on to, our first consolidation section. A section that goes over what we've been doing and mixes it up. So we're not just doing the same thing and doing more examples to learn it. We're now using that information, mixing it up. Not too much to start with, it's still in some particular order, but there's no explanation. The best way to approach it is on the sight reading level. You look at the piece, Bumblebee, you see the notes. Most students at this stage won't be able to hear the notes in their head. They can't sing the tune. Some might be able to, if they get the starting pitch. Some might have perfect pitch, but that's quite rare. Bumblebee, don't fear, I will always hear. Only two notes. Will you come for tea, dear Miss Bumblebee? Once they've got that, they've got the articulation, they've got the hand, they've got the octave. The fingering now doesn't matter, because you know middle fingers and you know the inner fingers. So whichever finger you happen to respond to straight away. Bumblebee, don't fear, I will always hear. Will you come for tea, dear Miss Bumblebee? Now that was done with the middle fingers. I could have used my thumb and gone Bumblebee, don't fear. I can use any two fingers, even 3 and 4 or the nasty 4 and 5. But usually you'll do what you've already studied before. Johnny Kookaburra does the same in the bass, inner fingers, or the inner fingers. 3 fat grubs went down the path, they climbed up a tree. Came a Johnny Kookaburra, gobbled up the 3. Okay, some new songs, 2 notes, the very beginnings of staff notation. Here's another one, kitty cat, 2 notes again. Kitty, kitty, cat, why are you a brat? Playing with my brand new hat, naughty, naughty cat. Because if I didn't look at it, I'd be suddenly caught with the left hand on the second line. So it's good to look at the song before you start to realise that you've got right hand in the treble and left hand in the bass. Young White Rats then plays the 2 notes together in octaves. Young white rats in black felt hats, young white ducks in red straw flats, young brown dogs with curly tails, young grey cats with dirty nails. Now, one warning I'm going to give you. If you're following this method, and you've got the book, and you're studying, and it's quite handy to have a YouTube recording of this when you're learning, don't listen to all this section first and then go ahead and play it. You're missing the whole point of what sight reading is about. You won't gain anything from it. You'll hear me playing it as if I'm teaching you how it goes. That is rote learning. It's not sight reading, it's rote learning. You would have already heard the piece. Once you know how something goes before you do it, that's not sight reading. Sight reading is absolutely never played the piece before, don't even know what the piece is all about. There's no having heard the piece like traditional music. You look at it, quick glance through it, get an idea what you're doing, and then you go straight into it at your speed of reading and development. Starlight, then star so bright, first star I see tonight. If that's your speed, then that is the speed that you do it at. You don't do it at Pieroni's peeved.
Starlight and star so bright, first star I see tonight.
He already knows how it goes.
I might have a wish I wish tonight.
He's not sight reading it. He knows. He teaches these pieces all the time.
Grasshopper green is a comical chap with his bright yellow trousers and jacket and cap. My poor house is in a tree. Can you enter 'cause it's free? Have some cake, have some pie. Don't just sit there and just cry.
Now we're starting to mix up a few things. Left, then right, and then together. Bit of interaction working there.
Rain, rain, go up way, up, up, go up mountain way. Rain, rain, go up way, little Bobby wants to play.
Slurring.
My Bobby is so fast, keeps on going right on past. My Bobby is so cute, likes to listen to my flute.
Two spends on meanings.
Mr. Silly, you're a clown. Mr. Silly, please come down.
Jumping over fences with the right hand in the middle octave and the left hand in the low octave, but singing the high and the low octaves.
Jumping over fences now, careful you don't meet a cow. Jumping fences when you're full, might end up right on the wall.
Playing octaves. I've got a choice of singing the higher part or the lower part. Here's Pussy's in a dreadful state, singing the higher part.
Pussy's boots are on today, thinks it's going to rain today. Pussy's in a dreadful state, it's because his mate is late.
Or the low octave.
Pussy's boots are on today, thinks it's going to rain today. Pussy's in a dreadful state, it's because his mate is late.
There's a choice in singing of these songs. Oh, we've just completed our first consolidation section, going over basically everything we've learnt so far in part 2 of the book, when we start learning how to read staff notation. We now start another part 3. Part 3 begins with a bit of revision, and it goes over, very briefly, some of the points that we've done when we first learned about staff notation. We begin with part 3 by going over the naming of the white keys. The white keys named A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but actually in the coloured octave blocks starts with F. So the naming of the notes go F, G, A, B, C, D, E. So here are the middle octave notes starting on middle F, and we'll see that middle F is not a note that we have learnt yet. It has 3 ledger lines coming down, followed by G with 2 ledger lines, A also 2 ledger lines, one's a space, one's a line, B just below the first ledger line, and now we come to territory we've already covered, middle C, middle D and middle E. We've yet to learn these ones. We also learnt that when we have 2 staff lines joined together by this brace, or the bar line coming straight down, the right hand plays the top and the left hand plays the bottom. That's from our general rule of understanding. But here is our first modification of this rule. The left hand can come up and join the right hand. So they're both playing notes in the treble. To do this, you must indicate which notes are played with the right hand and which notes are played with the left hand by simply putting RH and LH above and below the notes. This happens in the bottom staff, where the right hand can come down and join the left hand down here, and they're both playing on the bottom staff line. We start section 8 by playing notes C and B next to each other. These notes are referred to as an interval of a second. The B is the second note down from C. So we call this a musical interval of a second. C is played with the right hand and B is played with the left hand. So the left hand has come up to join the right hand. It's allowed to do that. And as long as we indicate it with an LH, you see the arrow telling you that the left hand now has come up to play this note. Both thumbs now are going to be positioned next to each other, a second apart. I call this particular position a studio position. Studio, being an Italian word, pronounced studio, just simply means a study, something that you learn. So a study named a studio is particularly interested in the position of the hands, with the thumbs next to each other on specifically the notes B and C. The studio position. Right thumb on the middle C, left thumb next to it on the B. Very close. A loop, where the notes loop down and back up again. A starting note, going down and back to that same starting note. It loops back again. Here's my cat in the studio position doing a very short loop. Here's my cat, he's so fat. You might think, well, you have to use two hands to play those two notes? And the answer is no, you don't. Not at all. In fact, I can start off with the right hand. To play the B, I simply take my second finger and just come over it to play the B. Lift your thumb off and then put it back on again. I've done this loop with just the right hand by crossing over the thumb with the second finger. It's called a crossover. Here's my cat, he's so fat. In fact, I don't even need to use the thumb on the middle C. I can use my second finger on the middle C. So therefore the thumb can go next to it and go, here's my cat, he's so fat. Or I can use the middle fingers, 2s and 3s. I have a choice. Studio position, my cat, he's so fat. Crossing over fingering. Or 2 fingers. Or I can keep going and use 4s and 3s and the nasty 5s and 4s. I think those two combinations, 2-1 and 3-2 is enough. When we started playing 3 notes, C, D and E are in order, and we refer to this as a scale. The scale now has got another note to it, a B added, but we still start on the C. The C beginning of the scale, it's called a C major scale because it starts on the C. The major is not important at this stage to understand. The B has this sudden returning aspect that it wants to come back and return back to the C being the tonic, the first note of the scale. C, D, E, we've done this before. But the B, this short loop coming down, returns back, and we call this B a leading note because it leads back to the tonic. So now we have B, C, D and E in the middle octave, and you'll notice on the diagram I've superimposed the coloured strip on its side. This is perpendicular to the staff notation. There's the coloured strip right above the back of the piano, showing you the coloured block. But when you have staff notation, the actual pitch is vertical orientation. So the very high are up here and the very low are down there. And you see the middle octave is shared between the treble and the bass. Well, we know this because that's how we divide the piano up from the middle C note. But there's a big space there, which we learn a little bit later on why there's such a large space in there.